Hello everyone, I was Lynx Camelli. For the first time in recorded history, Final Fantasy XIV is currently going through a bit of a rocky period. Although I no longer play the game, I loved FF14 like no other game I had ever played. I've put in over 12,000 hours in the 6 years that I played, and seen the game transform over time from a highly creative niche substitute for World of Warcraft to an unrecognizable mess of oversimplification and lack of creativity. The opinions and ideas...
He shows warrior. Yeah, I mean, if you want to oonga boonga, you're gonna oonga boonga, bro.
will present in this video are feelings I have had for a very long time.
This video's a bit controversial.
Much before I
That's
stopped
fine.
playing the game, but I never felt comfortable sharing these feelings because FF14 has a critical issue. You. Or more appropriately, the FF14 community.
Oh.
It's no secret that a large amount of 14 players are die-hard lovers that will not accept any criticism or negativity towards their perfect game. Whenever someone brings up a problem they have with the game, they have to keep adding disclaimers that everything is fine out of fear of invoking the wrath of the FF lovers.
This is such a waste of potential because this dungeon could probably be badass, but instead they're going to make it brain dead easy to cater to casuals, and that's fine. That's fine. A vast majority of their
This video's been rack
is
spammed a little.
so that-
Oh, I don't even know what it is. You guys are all like losing your mind in chat. I'm like, I don't even know what this is.
anybody can do it. And while that's good, and I'm not
Guys, I'm the king of hot takes at times, okay? I think we're gonna be okay here.
saying that they should take it away, they need to add some stuff that is a little harder, that not everybody can do it. I'm not saying they need to,
However, community sentiment seems to be declining for the first time in ever. I mean, Zepla, FF14's beacon of positivity and happiness, released a 36-minute video going over all of her issues with FF14's current expansion and larger core issues with the game as a whole. Now,
Yeah, but if you look at the trend of Zepla videos over the last year, it is not out of the blue, so to speak. I wouldn't exactly call Zepla a beacon of positivity. I think that's a little bit ridiculous, but we'll see.
Now, this was surprising. I mean, that's like a WoW player saying World of Warcraft is actually a good game. Like, that is beyond controversial.
Some things may have changed in the past year.
It seemed to go over well, with a large amount of people agreeing and seeing through the Yoshi P indoctrination, criticizing the game for its legitimate shortcomings, so...
I also want to put something out there that social media can be a little bit deceiving in that when you garner a following of people who may or may not agree with you on a lot of different things, I would say that the likeliness when someone chooses to follow you and interact with you, I'd say the likeliness of them agreeing in similar sentiments is probably higher than if they weren't following you. So I just want to point out that using, the response from followers and people who would normally interact with these people, I just don't know if that's the best source for your claim, because it's kind of like if you surround yourself, whether by intention or not, with people that are more likely to agree with your takes, then obviously the perception is going to be that more people agree with you than disagree with you because you've fostered that audience, right? So just because people agree with you on the social platform that you're using does not mean that that is the widely accepted viewpoint. That is a common viewpoint for those that follow you, because they might even follow you because they share the viewpoint. Like, commonality draws them together and creates what we call an echo chamber.
Clearly, things are changing, hence me finally feeling comfortable to talk candidly about a game I used to love and genuinely want to see succeed.
That's good. I do think it is good that that this person has found confidence in the ability to finally say, if this is genuinely what they feel, then it's good that they get the opportunity and the courage in order to say it. And so I do want to acknowledge that I don't know, even though these takes that we're about to hear, we might not agree with, I think it's important that everyone feels the ability to express those opinions, because shutting each other down because we just don't like to hear the other opinions is pretty useless and makes you look like an ass.
Bringing up 4 main topics in this video. I won't be discussing the story since I'm a story skipper, so I don't have much to say on that, and it does seem to be one of the last remaining good parts of FF14. Every expansion has 3 Savage raid tiers, 3 Alliance raids, 2 trial bosses at launch, and a new one every major patch, accompanied with a new dungeon. I mean, there is zero room for going above and beyond. Just stick to what has always been delivered. And people are just simply getting tired of it. There is definitely value in knowing what you'll be getting when you pay for an expansion. I mean, if any of you have been paying attention to Destiny 2, that game is a complete RNG loot box of what you'll get when you pay for an expansion. However, the downside to being extremely formulaic is you lose the ability to excite people. No longer am I sitting at the edge of my seat watching every live letter stream theorizing with my friends on what they'll announce next. I know what's coming.
I get that.
Another 24-man raid. 1 new dungeon, a new trial boss.
Yeah, that's why I think it's important to stay like, I mean, it's not for everyone, but I think that even though you know it's coming, I think that, like for me, for example, like I think I'm still excited about, you know, new mechanics, new visuals, like the storyline that accompanies that. Like, I guess in my mind, I don't think of it just like, I don't think of it as just like, oh, it's a 24-man. It's like, well, it's a 24-man, yeah, but like it's another one, yes, but like with a whole new storyline that's different. I don't know. I don't look at it as just like this is the piece of content. Like I try to look at everything that content can bring, from raid mechanics to story to unlocks and rewards, right? Like I think all of that stuff is important.
Another 4 bosses in the Savage tier. Except actually, the final boss of the Savage tier is 2 fights that are half finished to form a 5-boss raid tier. Pfft, whoa.
I think that's kind of a weird take, but let's hear this again.
Boss. Another 4 bosses in the Savage tier. Except actually, the final boss of the Savage tier is 2 fights that are half finished to form a 5-boss raid tier. Pfft, whoa, dude. What if they just made 1 fight that was fully complete? Okay, sorry, that's besides the...
P8SP1 is a complete fight. I kind of think so too. And I think P8SP2 is as well. I think P8S is a great example of a complete fight. But I guess I get what he's saying as far as like them splitting it into 2. And I do think it's kind of weird though. What I will say is if we're gonna treat it like they're 2 complete fights, then why don't we get loot for it? If that's the case, then I mean, we are technically doing 2 separate encounters. Like, why don't we get anything for? But it's, I don't know. I think it's because it's about it's the premise of the checkpoint. You know, like the final fight is unique in that it has a checkpoint because the second phase is something new and different than what you would have gotten in normal. So you have to also think about the fact that the base Savage fight has to align at least somewhat with what's presented in normal, because typically the second phase is what is going to differentiate the 4th fight from the normal version. Does that make sense? What I'm trying to say is that the second phase is really like your Savage phase. And the first phase is more of a more difficult version of what's presented in normal. And there's not anything really that different, you know? So I don't know. I think that's fine. I don't have any problem with that being the case. My only thing would be, well, maybe you should get something. Like if you're doing like P8S prog with your group or whatever, and let's say you guys get to P2, maybe you get for getting there for the first time that week, maybe you get, I don't know, like 150 tomestones, just like some kind of reward, maybe just for finishing what is effectively like a fight in itself. I think would be more interesting, just in that it feels weird that we are rewarded for the other fights, but upon completion of the first part of what is a more major fight than all the others, you don't really get anything. So the big question is, how does one define a complete fight? Well, I think that's an extremely detailed and complex argument in and of itself. There is no mounts is special. No. What I'm saying is you don't get anything from finishing the first phase. Like, even though it is basically presented as its own fight, you don't get anything for it as though it was its own fight. Does that make sense? That's all I'm trying to say. That, like, if it's going to be presented that way, maybe they should treat it that way as well in some aspect. I don't know. That's my gripe with it, though. But this guy, he's saying he just wants it to be all one phase, which he's showing Shiva, which Shiva is a 2-phase fight with no checkpoint. And that's fine. Shiva is also known as one of the most difficult savage bosses in the history of savage bosses. And I would just like to say that so was Kil'jaeden. And that doesn't mean that I ever want to fight fucking Kil'jaeden again. I will forever remember Kil'jaeden because it was incredibly difficult. But does that mean I want to do it again? Fuck no. No, fuck no, bro. Hell no. What the fuck? Oh, God, please no.
The point. I got a little off
Never
there. The point is, veteran players that have been around for a few cycles of the 14 formula are just getting burnt out. And what's strange about this is...
I disagree with this. Based on, just based on the sentiment of what Burnout is. I don't agree with what he's saying is Burnout. I think boredom and Burnout are two different things. I totally agree with that take. And I think people are getting bored. I don't think they're getting burned out. I think burnout occurs when you're forced to do something you don't want to do to the point where you don't want to do it anymore. And I think boredom is when you're doing something and you just lose interest and you just like, it's just not interesting or fun for you anymore. There's very much a difference, in my opinion. So I don't know. This guy's 12,000 hours, so I think it's boredom. I would say it's probably boredom as well, you know? Look, guys, I have 3,000 hours and I get bored, you know? There's nothing wrong with that. And here's the fact, dude. There's a lot of content in this game that I haven't done. I still have to finish Blue Mage. I don't have a Morbol mount. I don't have big fishing log. But the truth also is that I just don't really care about doing that kind of content. It's just not that important to me. So when I get bored, I don't play. And that's fine. And that's just how it works, you know? And then once I've played RuneScape enough, which is what I've been playing, I will get bored of it and I want to go and play something else. I mean, it's a very normal cycle. People get bored. It's crazy to me that it's like it gets treated as though like, oh, I'm just so burnt out. And I feel like you're starting to feel apathetic because you're bored and you're not doing things that are giving you any type of like the type of like stimulation that you would need to like keep enjoying it. I don't know.
Final Fantasy XIV has grown immensely. I mean, the popularity of this game has only gone up over time, which obviously means way more revenue, and yet, what's to show for it? In fact, some of you might not know this, but in Heavensward, we actually got 2 dungeons per patch. We've steadily been getting less dungeons with every expansion because...
I mean... So he's taken the position that the increased success of Final Fantasy has led to laziness in the dev team. And because they're making more money, it's not as important for them to put in as much time. And so we're getting less content. That's what I'm taking away from this. But so I just want to say this. It looks like Endwalker has the amount of Shadowbringers, which is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13 dungeons. It's a pretty good amount. Stormblood only had 2 more. And Stormblood has 2 hard modes for the record, which are basically just hard modes from Heavensward. So they're not really even that like new of dungeons, frankly. So you can take those 2 out of there. And then half of the dungeons in Heavensward are hard modes from ARR. So realistically, like, half of them are hard modes of some of their owns as well, like some all hard and stuff like that. So are you really even getting different dungeons? In fact, I think if you were to look at it this way, I think we actually get more dungeons now than we used to. And then you have to consider variant dungeons as well, which are in and of themselves a whole different piece of content. And then, yeah, so that's something to think about. And then in Stormblood and Shadowbringers, this hasn't been the case in Endwalker, but in Stormblood and Shadowbringers, you also had 2 exploration zones. So there was that as well.
Expansion, because you know what Square Enix does? Instead of investing the increased revenue to grow the game, they only ever move development to different pieces of content, never increasing the overall amount of content. The mystical question everybody's had this expansion is, where is Endwalker's Eureka and Bozja equivalent? Well,
It's really not that mystical of a question. One thing I think that's kind of tough with this take is that it's very surprise, surprise. Like his position is that his logic is so profound, and that those around him that don't see it are hopelessly blind. That's the way it's being portrayed, in my opinion. I think that's why it's hard to listen to, is because it's treated as like such a, oh, what a surprise, it's so obvious type thing. And I think it just comes off as like really, really arrogant. And trust me, I've been there. I feel like sometimes I sound like this. And I'd say more so in the past I used to sound like this, but I mean, I'm definitely not going to pretend like I don't hear a little bit of myself in what this guy's saying. But I think it's part of why some of it bothers me, is because I think I disagree with my with some, you know, with my old self. I think that's how it generally is supposed to work.
for increasing the overall amount of content? Well, it's called Criterion Dungeons. No Ishgardian Restoration equivalent in Endwalker? Yes, there is. It's called Island Sanctuary. Less dungeons in Stormblood onwards? Well, that's to make way for ultimate raids. You see, despite FF14 exploding in popularity and the cash shop overflowing with overpriced garbage to milk the player base, Square Enix has never added content to the game, only replaced content. And this formula is just getting stale. Do I really want to spend $15 a month just to do another 24-man raid that is exactly like the ones that came before it?
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that. I'm not so sure about that take. I'm not so sure about it. I don't see how it's the same.
Just getting stale.
Because it has 24 people and because there's 12 fights, it's the same, you know?
Do I really want to spend $15 a month just to do another 24-man raid that is exactly like the ones that came before it?
I just can't agree with that take. It's so, story-wise, they're so unique and different. I mean, you get completely different raid layout, you get different bosses, you get an entire storyline. I think this guy has raid brain. I think that's going to be part of this whole thing here, is I think he has raid brain. And I think he also thinks that all the content is in the game. It's the same for him because he skips the story. He's a story skipper. He said so. He said it in the video. Did he say it up to this point? I don't think did he say it already?
I'll be bringing up 4 main topics in this video. However, I won't be discussing the story since I'm a story skipper, so
Imagine if Final Fantasy was a game. Imagine this, actually. Imagine if all Final Fantasy was raid fights. And you just logged into a lobby of friends or whoever. And then all you did was you went in without any story, without anything, and you just fought bosses. What if that's what the game was? Because that's how this guy plays the game. Okay, just think about that. Just let that sink in for a second. That is literally how he plays the game. And that's fine. That's how he plays. But you can't just objectively say that something is bad when you're choosing not to interact with like half of it. Like what the fuck? Of course that's why every 24-man feels the same to you. But it's funny because at the very start of the video, remember who he says is the problem? He says it's you. He says it's the community is the problem. So the way that the community thinks about the game as a whole is the issue. Not that the way in which that I choose to play the game very specifically is boring me and maybe that could be part of the issue.
So I don't have much to say on that, and it does seem to be one of the last remaining good parts of FF14. Oh.
I hope whoever wrote the 6.x patches is not writing Dawn Trail. It's very easy to say things like this, you know? It's very easy to say things like this. It's such cheap, easy jabs, you know? Such cheap, easy jabs. And people are so reactive and small-brained nowadays that, like, as long as they perceive that you're getting the W, that's all that matters. It's not that people aren't allowed to have opinions. That's not what I'm saying. People can have negative opinions or whatever, but the sentiment behind it is just so ridiculous sometimes. It's like, dude.
Topic 2. Repetition breeds apathy. Beyond just sticking to the formula for content releases, FF14 has also lost all creativity when it comes to encounter design, which was arguably FF14's greatest strength outside of the story for years.
But you guys said he hasn't played Endwalker. That's a shame, because Endwalker has a lot of unique mechanics. In fact, Criterion specifically has very unique and complex mechanics. Yeah, I think the encounter design's been really fun. I don't know. And I did play through all of the content of all the other expansions, by the way. That did happen. And it's all recorded. And most of it's done at mid-item level, no echo. So with that being said, like, the encounter design used to suck dick. Let me say that again for the people in the back. The encounter design used to suck dicks. Dicks. Terrible. Terrible. It's gotten so much better. What the fuck is this guy smoking? It's literally gotten it's only gotten better. What?
In fact, one of my most popular videos on this channel is me selling the game to WoW players on how great the boss encounters are. But again, for those of us that have been around for a while, we have started to see the utter lack of innovation when it comes to boss design.
And therefore, if you haven't been around for a while like one of us, you wouldn't be seeing this, obviously, because it's for those that have been around. It's so exclusionary. I love it.
Encounters are. But again, for those of us that have been around for a while, we have started to see the utter lack of innovation when it comes to boss design, even in the ultimate fights. Every mechanic.
So I did see in some of his footage that he had Legend. Didn't T come out in Shadowbringers? Does he have a T weapon?
Mechanic is just a random combination of group stacks, prey markers, tether grabbing, limit cut, tower soaking, or God forbid clock spots.
So when it comes to this point, I guess I do kind of get where he's coming from. And I think when I think about World of Warcraft, I think that there's a lot of shared mechanics as well that are very simple. Stack, spread, get in a group. Those kinds of things. Those all exist in World of Warcraft too. Then WoW has a lot of like debuff related mechanics. Like they have a lot of WoW has like a lot of complexity in, but at the same time, it's so hard to compare the two because fundamentally the raiding is just so much different. Like, yes, it's a raid, but like besides that, they're really not. And I don't really see how you could put a video out like this that says these kinds of things when you didn't play all the newest content. DSR, Top, the new raids, the Savage raids. I mean, Abyssos was a thing, but besides that, it's popular to complain about FF right now. Well, I mean, no shit, you guys. I can put out a video literally predicting the end of the raid storyline. It gets 3,000 views. I put out a video reacting to someone talking shit about me. It gets 12,000 views. There's a very clear issue there. The video has 128,000 views and a bunch of support. I mean, it's very clear that people just like to latch on to shit talking. I mean, it's very obvious.
All been done before. There is no interesting new mechanics that challenge your gameplay ability. If you're a veteran player or no.
Again, I think if he were to do Criterion Dungeon, I think he would change his mind. I think he would be pleasantly surprised by the mechanics. At least in the first Criterion. I mean, I thought it was tough. And they were unique and new. I like them. I like them a lot. I think it's obvious that if you mechanically want to break down encounters or whatever, like, yeah, you're going to find shared mechanics. I think it's about the timing, the display of said mechanics, like the actual damage that it does. Like, it's not as though the actual exact ability is being copied from something and pasted into something else. So
no one. Tell me if this sounds familiar to you. Oh, this mechanic is like this other mechanic in that other boss.
Yeah, but that happens in World of Warcraft too. I mean, that happens a lot. Like, it's like standing in swirlies from Chromog. Yeah, okay. That's, I mean, you're just making a relation to something else to make it easier for someone to understand. Like, that's...
Every boss is just a reskin of mechanics used in previous fights over and over. All you have to do when learning a new Final Fantasy XIV boss is find the safe spot, because do you know what every FF14 mechanic in existence is? Stand and let thing resolve. Seriously, when I...
Yeah, I think he would have liked P8 SP2. I think he would have liked it, man. I think he would have really liked that. And I think it would have felt different in that it was a presentation of just figuring out this puzzle and not just stand here, do this. I think it's just, dang, not to say that like his opinion's invalid because he didn't do it. That's not what I'm saying. I mean, he's got his opinion, and from what he has played, he has a valid opinion. You know, we don't have to agree with it, but he's got a 12,000 hour opinion. I feel like it's a very reductive way to look at it. And I think that's normal because based on his experiences over time, he's developed, and this is normal, everyone does this, he's developed an inner sense that is not true to reality, okay? We all fucking do this, okay? There's no possible way that we're going to be expected to remember all the mechanics from every fight and the way that we felt doing those mechanics during every fight. And so after a while, we develop a bigger picture that develops over time, and then we blanket that to everything, okay? I've done it. This guy's doing it. People do it all the time, okay? So it's tough when you say things like, all it is standing still and waiting, because once you get into the nitty-gritty, you're going to find a ton of examples where that's not true. But his perception, and because it is common enough, is that over time that's what it is. And I think that's tough, because at that point, do you say is it his fault for the way that he perceives and enjoys the game, or is it the game's fault? Or it's like, you know, I don't know that it's necessarily has any fault at all. I think that we've very often, probably too much, try to attribute intent to things that have no intent at all. Like, there's no one making some conscious decision out there that's going to change this thing so that you don't have as much fun to play the game. Like, that's not occurring. And to think that that's occurring is arrogant and very self-important. It's just not occurring. No one is targeting your enjoyment of the game. It's not happening. And I just don't think, I think this wanting to place blame is a very strange thing, because I don't think that it has to even exist. I think that it is perfectly normal, logical for someone to feel this way, to develop these viewpoints, and for it to be literally no one's fault. It's just the way that it's gone. Like, you know, not everyone who hates, you know, certain brand of clothing or car brand or whatever it might be had a bad experience with that car brand. You know, it's just like, I just think we are trying to apply simplified concepts to something that is not simple at all.
I had this realization is when I lost all interest in FF14 encounter design. Stand and let thing resolve. That is every mechanic. There is no innovation to the gameplay, just simply a new twist on stand and let thing resolve. Where other MMOs have moving platforms that require...
Is this Guild Wars? What is this? Guild Wars 2?
Careful jumping, boss attacks that...
This is a four-man group here. What's this? Lost Ark?
Can be countered, which dynamically changes the fight every pull, or using height and...
What's this? This one looks the worst out of all. This looks like a piece of shit. What is this? What is this piece of shit? No, straight up though, this fight is absolutely fucking god-awful dog shit.
Create fun.
Absolute, yeah, gravity to create fun. Fuck yourself, dude. Go fuck yourself. As someone who did, dude, Maiden of Vigilance, go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself. For the rest of time. Maiden of Vigilance can go fuck itself. It is such a bad fight. It's so fucking bad.
Moving
God damn, it's such a bad fight.
Careful jumping.
Well, but it's creative though. No, it's terrible. Tomb of Sargeras was a lot of things, okay? And I'm gonna say it, chat, and fuck you if you think I sound full of myself, because I don't give a shit. I'm gonna talk my shit, okay? I finished in a guild that was in the top 25 guilds in the United States and in the top 100 guilds in the world to kill Jaden on Mythic, okay? So I fucking did the shit. I did it when it was fucking current, and it's one of the hardest raid fights ever. And Tomb of Sargeras was a lot of fucking things, but fun is not a word that I would put in there, okay? So it's just, it's not, unique is not always fun.
14 has is stand and let.
And we have gravity mechanics.
Resolve. Grab the tether and let it resolve. Go to clock spots and let it resolve. Hide behind the rock and let it resolve. And this...
Yeah, no shit, dog. What? Why are we pretending? I gotta breathe. I'm gonna start to get upset. Why are we pretending like all the prerequisite things that you do before letting it resolve are just not mechanics? Why does he ignore that? He just lists a bunch of things that you have to do right before you let it resolve. Why is he acting like it's not part of the mechanic?
That can be countered, which
it's crazy.
Changes the fight every pull, or using height and gravity to create fun moments. All FF14 has is stand and let thing resolve.
Like, are we supposed to fucking poke the boss with a stick? And like, now it's time for you to do your mechanic. It's time. I want you to do it now. Like, what kind of weird thing is this?
Grab the tether and let it resolve. Go to clock spot.
No, grab the tether, run around, hope you don't fucking lose the tether, go out to your clock spot, immediately move back in because you're gonna have to rotate to the safe spot. Like, don't act like it's just going to stand out in fucking... Look, top phase 1, bro. Oh my god. Do we really have to talk about top phase 1 tethers, bro? It might be the hardest phase 1 in any fucking ultimate ever. The most tedious, annoying fucking phase ever put into something. Let's not pretend like you just grab a tether and wait for it to resolve. Fucking bullshit, dude. Go do some top pulls or shut the fuck up about it. That's my opinion.
And let it resolve. Hide behind the rock and let it resolve. And this repetition of reusing old mechanics over and over on top of a non-changing gameplay formula leads to apathy. No longer are we challenged.
No, he's never done top. That's why I said that, Jay. He hasn't done top or DSR. Now, I haven't finished top or DSR either, but I've done the polls, and let me tell you.
And asked to improve our gameplay ability, we are simply tasked with finding the safe spot and standing there until the thing resolves. And challenge in FF14 has actually been going backwards. The game is not even maintaining the difficulty it used to have, but actually making
this is just flat out incorrect. Listen to this. This is just flat out incorrect.
The thing resolves.
This is just objectively incorrect.
Has actually been going backwards. The game is not even maintaining the difficulty it used to have, but actually making everything easier and easier.
That is absolutely incorrect. That is absolutely incorrect. DSR and top are by far the hardest of the ultimates that have ever been created. There's absolutely no chance that you're going to convince anybody that does ultimates that those two pieces of content are not exceedingly more difficult compared to previous ultimates. I'm sorry, you're not going to convince people of that. That's completely objectively incorrect.
Topic 3. It wasn't always like this. I understand that.
Look, I just told you guys, I just bragged to you about being a top 25 raider. You guys want to know something? I'm intimidated by DSR and top. I'm a good fucking player. When I really want to put it into there and really focus, I'm a good fucking player. And I don't even want to do those pieces of content because they are fucking hard. Insanely hard. Hard enough that I'm not there yet, you know? Like, you just... It's stupid. It's so stupid to say that it's not difficult. It's hilarious to me. There's just no way.
Might be coming across as a bitter old man yelling at kids for having fun. I'm only 24, by the way. But trust me, I absolutely despise nostalgia lords who blindly think everything was better in the past.
Normal content's been made so you can solo the game, and content's been nerfed as well. Yeah, it's normal, bro. Who gives a flying fuck? Who gives a flying fuck? Are you really about to say the game's easier because now people can play it solo? Come on, dude. Fuck off with that. That's not true. That's not fucking true. Who cares, bro? It's for people that can get through the fucking main story. The majority of the player base.
Class design has completely stagnated and lacks any growth at all. I mean, it blew my mind that an actual popular opinion these days is to make combo skills just one button that you spam over and over. Yeah, great idea, geniuses. You know, what if we just made every class have one ability called the I win button? Maybe then you could convince yourself you're a good player.
Oh, there it is, bro. He is such a toxic little raider. He's such a toxic little raid brain shithead. There it is, bro. There it is. This is something that you would have heard 17-year-old Pyromancer say to his raiding guild in World of Warcraft back when he thought he was hot shit because he was an officer in a fucking guild. You know? He sounds like you. Why are we letting this fucking moron talk in our chat still? Just get rid of him. Just get rid of this jackass. Who cares?
It's just one button that you spam over and over. Yeah, great idea, geniuses. You know, what if we just made every class have one ability called the I win button? Maybe then you could convince yourself you're a good player. Preach Gaming used to have a philosophy on class design he called moments of glory, where classes were not meant to be jacks of all trades, but instead have moments and encounters where their specific class had an area to really shine and do something special.
And if they didn't get brought to the raid, you fucking moron. If your class didn't fit that mold, you didn't get invited. And guess what? It still happens. It still happens. It happens in World of Warcraft Classic Wrath of the Lich King. That is not a game problem. That's a player problem.
Where are modern day FF's moments of glory? Pressing fell cleave 5 times in a row? Yeah, that's real interesting and unique.
Bro, it's the easiest tank, dude. It is not only the easiest tank, it's the easiest job in the whole game. It is the most unga boonga easiest job.
The only class that can even have a moment of glory is Black Mage, which is coincidentally the class that the game director Yoshi P plays, in which they can save up instant casts and procs to do an entire phase of an ultimate fight without ever needing to hardcast a single spell.
Black main mage meltdown in 3, 2, 1.
What? I'm sorry. Oh, I gotta take some deep breaths here. As someone who has 2,000 hours on Black Mage, this hurts my soul. It hurts my soul. Oh man, you know, everyone should play Black Mage because it's the most capable and easiest job. It has the most damage potential, and you can stand there and instant cast and not do anything for a whole ultimate phase. By the way, do you guys want to prog ultimate as a Black Mage? Think about that. Do you really want to do ultimate as a Black Mage? Fuck you, dude. Fuck you. You're playing all your prog as a summoner or a red mage, and then you're switching to Black Mage. If you prog as Black Mage, 1, you're a fucking masochist, and 2, you should probably get your brain checked out. Okay? There's absolutely no way that I just heard this guy talk about Black Mage as though it has some outstanding advantage in ultimate content. I did not just hear that. I did not just fucking hear that.
Director Yoshi P plays, in which they can...
But the only reason why he's saying it is because Yoshi P plays this. If Yoshi P played anything else, he wouldn't have a fucking thing to say right here. He has to preface it with the fact that Yoshi P plays it, otherwise it doesn't mean anything.
The only class that can even have a moment of glory is Black Mage, which is coincidentally the class that the game director uses, in which they can save up instant casts and procs to do an entire phase of an ultimate fight without ever needing to hardcast a single spell.
But while saving up, meaning that you have to be hard casting everything in the meantime. Does he not understand? That's how you know he doesn't play Black Mage. Because you don't just get to have free instant cast for no reason, like whenever you want to. It means that by not using them in other spots, you have to hard cast. You have to hard cast. It's crazy.
Now that's really cool. Try and find any other moment of glory on any other class. They don't exist. Bosses that used to require...
I get what he's saying in the aspect of like, here's a situation where this job can really shine. But you can't even play Black Mage like that without knowing the ins and outs of everything that's going to happen in that phase. You don't just go into a fight and just Black Mage. That's not how it works, dude. You have to literally plan it out for where you're going to use it. And the skill cap of doing so is part of why most players don't play Black Mage at a higher level, is because they can't do it. It's so stupid.
Movement, careful positioning, and a consideration for your melee DPS's positional skills have devolved into bosses.
Or
with
because it's not fun.
big as the
Because you have to fucking hard cast everything.
arena, or the godforsaken wall boss, where boss movement is literally impossible. You know, I might as well just be punching the air with how little the actual enemy I'm fighting matters in an encounter. Raid